Hi guys, Ryan G. Wright with DoHardMoney.com coming to you with the Just Ask Ryan question of the day. And the question is, why are foreclosed homes so cheap? We're going to talk all about that. If you have a question of the day you'd like me to answer, type it in the comments below and I'll get it answered as one of our Just Ask Ryan questions of the day. I'm coming to you from our marketing and IT room. This is where our marketing guys and our IT guys hang out. You can see because they got stuff everywhere. I keep telling them they need to clean this place up a little bit. They just don't realize that I bring the camera in here. So if you think our guys need to clean this up, type it in the comments below. It would really help me out because then I could show them that other people think this needs to clean up. Anyway, the question is, foreclosed homes, why are they so cheap? I think right now in 2021, foreclosed homes actually aren't cheap. One, because there aren't a lot of foreclosed homes. With the moratorium on government-backed loans having the lack of being able to foreclose. Now, this isn't all loans. This is just their government-backed loans, your Fannie, your Freddie, your FHA loans. Basically, the government's subsidizing them, so they're saying you have to put a hold on foreclosure, and they say, no problem, because you're giving us the money anyway. That's kind of what's going on right now. There's not a lot of foreclosures that are out there. And because there's so many people that are wanting homes, every house price is being driven up right now. But typically, and I think that's where this question's coming from, typically foreclosure homes are going to be sold for less money. The reason for that is one, typically the condition, they need some work on the condition. Even if they are in inhabitable condition, meaning you can move into it, they're typically not in the best condition because they've gone through a foreclosure. Maybe somebody was mad and they did something bad to the property. Some banks will go in and do some work and other banks will just sell them as is. If the bank's going to do work, they're probably going to sell it at full retail. If the bank doesn't want to do work because they just want to liquidate it, then they're going to just list it in as-is condition. So depending upon what area of the country, depending upon the bank, there's a lot of variables that go on here as to how that price of the property actually gets set. So I would say right now, foreclosure homes are not cheap. I would say typically foreclosure homes are less money, but that is because they're in need of some repairs or the condition is just more subpar condition. Occasionally you'll find a great deal where a bank's trying to just unload a property. Lots of times if they're doing that, they're using an auction service as a private auction. So that's something to take into consideration is checking out private auctions. I've got a video all about auctions that you should check out as well that should help out with this. So conditions are some things that we need to be thinking about. As far as buying a foreclosure property, you don't need to be concerned about that. I've bought lots of foreclosed properties. As a matter of fact, the house I live in now was a foreclosed. Actually, the last two properties I lived in were foreclosed properties, and the one before that was an estate sales. So the house I live in now was a foreclosure, and it was put up on the multiple listing services with an agent representing the bank. They ended up getting multiple offers. Mine was one of them. The bank took another offer. And those people went to the property, they talked to a few of the neighbors, and the neighbors said that there were some problems with some mold in the property. So they did an inspection. Actually didn't do an inspection. They should have. And they got scared and they pulled out, which put me in primary position, and I went under contract with the bank. My wife and myself, we were concerned. So I hired a mold expert. I've got a buddy that does those types of things, environmental cleanups. I had his best guy go out there. We did all the testing, sent it to the labs, came back and said, there's less mold in this property than most properties. The most mold was on the front porch step. And he's like, this is totally common, nothing to worry about. But we were also told that the prior buyers had a concern with some cracks. And I thought it was just normal settling in the property. So I called a structural engineer. A structural engineer went out to the property. I've worked with this guy in the past. He called and said, there's no problems with this house. If you want to spend more money, I'll type up a report. But if you don't need a report, I'd save the money. I said, I just did it for me. If you're good, I'm good. Moving to the property, we've been there 10 years, 8 years, not had a single problem. And so we did our due diligence. That one is more what I would like to call a stigmatized property, where people got scared because of things the neighbors were saying, but they didn't do the due diligence to see. And that's where spending money with experts makes a lot of sense. And lots of times people get worried, hey, I don't want to spend money with an expert because what if it doesn't happen? And I would say it'd be a lot worse for you to move forward with a deal and not spend the money on an expert. If my engineer would have looked at the property and said, this is a major problem, even if I would have paid him $400 or $500 or $600, that would be a lot less than buying the house and having structural problems and having to spend tens or twenties or hundreds of thousands of dollars of fixing it. So sometimes that investment into getting some expert advice is worth so much more by walking away from the deal than it is by doing the deal, and you've got to keep that in perspective as well. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Also, check us out at dohardmoney.com. We have information, we have ways to find properties, we have tips, we have tricks, we have memberships, we have all kinds of great things, and we'd love to see you there. Get a couple of videos I think you'd be very interested in. One video is how to flip foreclosed houses. You're gonna wanna check that out. And another one is how to find off-market properties. Check out both those videos. Again, if you think my IT guys need to clean this thing up, put it in the comments as well. I'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, make it a very profitable day, and bye for now.